Admiral Taiho stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship, his four eyes fixed on the view screen, showing the blue-green planet called Earth. His grey skin reflected the soft glow of the ship's lights as he clasped his hands behind his back. Such a primitive world, he said to his second-in-command, Officer Minjay, and yet so full of resources. The Empire had watched Earth for over 50 years. They observed humans take their first small steps into space, clumsy rockets, a primitive space station, and a few brief visits to their moon. According to all reports, humans were still centuries away from true space travel. "Prepare the welcome message," Taiho ordered. "Remember, we are here to offer protection and membership in the Empire. The humans should be grateful." The Imperial fleet of 20 massive warships moved closer to Earth. Each ship was bigger than the largest human city, covered in weapon ports and armor plating that gleamed in the sunlight. Their engines glowed purple against the darkness of space. "Sir, we are detecting something strange," said the sensor officer, her fingers moving quickly across the control panel. "There's an object coming from behind the fourth planet." "Show me," Taiho ordered. The view screen changed to show a sleek black ship emerging from behind Mars. It didn't look like any human spacecraft they had studied. This ship was smooth and elegant, with no visible engines or weapons, yet it moved with impossible speed toward the Imperial fleet. "That can't be human technology," Minjay whispered. "Our reports say they're still using chemical rockets." Taiho narrowed his eyes. "Scan that vessel." The sensor officer worked for several moments, then looked up with confusion on her face. "Sir, the scans show technology far beyond what humans should have. There are energy readings we can't even identify." "Impossible," Taiho said. "Someone must have given them advanced technology. No species develops this quickly on their own." The communications officer suddenly straightened. "Admiral, we're being hailed in perfect galactic standard." The bridge fell silent. Humans shouldn't know the language of the Empire. They shouldn't even know the Empire existed. "Put it on screen," Taiho ordered, his voice tight. The view screen changed to show a human woman in a dark blue uniform. Her hair was cut short and she wore no decorations except for a small silver pin showing Earth with wings. "This is Commander Jiwoo of the United Earth Defense Force," she said calmly. "You have entered restricted space. Please state your intentions." Taiho exchanged glances with Minjay. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. The humans should be surprised, confused, perhaps even afraid. This woman looked completely calm, as if meeting alien fleets was an everyday occurrence. "I am Admiral Taiho of the Galactic Imperial Fleet," he replied. "We have come to offer Earth membership in our empire and to extend our protection to your species." Commander Jiwoo's expression didn't change. "That's very kind, Admiral. However, Earth doesn't require protection at this time. If you wish to establish diplomatic relations, we have protocols for that." Taiho felt his anger rising. "How do you have this technology? How do you know our language? Earth has been under observation for decades. This level of advancement is impossible." Jiwoo smiled slightly. "Perhaps your observations were incomplete, Admiral. Now I must ask again. What are your intentions in Earth space?" Behind Jiwoo, Taiho could see other humans working at control stations. Their ship's bridge looked advanced, with holographic displays and technology that shouldn't exist on Earth. "Stand by," Taiho said sharply, cutting the communication. He turned to his officers, who looked as confused as he felt. "Contact the Imperial Council immediately. Something is very wrong here." As the communication officers hurried to establish a quantum link to the Council, Taiho stared at the black human ship on the view screen. It remained perfectly positioned between the Imperial fleet and Earth, a single vessel facing 20 warships without showing any sign of fear. "Sir," Minjay said quietly, "if humans have this level of technology, what else might they be hiding?" Taiho had no answer. For the first time in his long career, he felt uncertain about what to do next. The black ship hung in space like a shadow against the stars. Commander Jiwoo sat in her command chair, outwardly calm despite the 20 Imperial warships facing her. Inside, her heart raced, but years of training kept her face neutral. "They've cut communications," reported Officer Hyunwoo from the tactical station. All Imperial ships are holding position. Jiwoo nodded. Good, it gives us time. She tapped a button on her chair. Engineering, how are our systems holding? The shields are stable, came the voice of Chief Engineer Donghun. But we can't maintain this energy output for more than 6 hours. After that, the core will need to cool down. 6 hours. Jiwoo hoped it would be enough time for Earth's other ships to prepare. The UES deterrent was humanity's masterpiece, built with technology decades ahead of anything the public knew existed. But it was still just one ship against an Imperial fleet. On the main screen, the Imperial flagship loomed. Its hull was covered with weapon ports, each capable of destroying a small moon. Against such firepower, even the deterrent's advanced shields would fail quickly. They're scanning us again, Hyunwoo said. More detailed scans this time. Let them look, Jiwoo replied. Just maintain the energy signature masking. The Empire needed to believe the deterrent represented Earth's standard technology, not a one-of-a-kind prototype. Meanwhile, on the Imperial flagship, Admiral Taiho paced the bridge while waiting for the Council's response. Scans complete, sir, the sensor officer reported. The human vessel has energy shielding we've only seen in theoretical designs. Their power source. It's like nothing in our database. That's impossible, said Officer Minje. Humans can barely reach their own moon. They can't have technology that rivals or exceeds our own. Taiho stopped pacing. Unless they've been deceiving us all along. The thought was disturbing. The Empire's method of conquest relied on technological superiority. They would observe a species until they understood its capabilities, then arrive with overwhelming force. No resistance was possible because no species could match Imperial technology, until now. The communication station chimed. Admiral, we have the Council. The view screen changed to show 5 figures seated at a semicircular table. The central councillor, an ancient being with translucent skin, leaned forward. Admiral Taiho explained this situation. Taiho bowed slightly. Honored Council, we arrived at Earth as planned, but were met by a human vessel with technology far beyond what our intelligence suggested was possible. They speak our language and seem completely unsurprised by our presence. The council members exchanged glances. Show us this vessel, commanded the central councillor. The screen split to show the black ship. Despite its small size compared to the Imperial fleet, it somehow looked dangerous, like a predator among prey. This changes everything, said another. Council member, if humans have kept this level of technology hidden, what else are they hiding? Could they have planetary defenses we're unaware of? We should retreat and reassess, suggested a third council member. No, said the central councillor firmly. The Empire does not retreat. Admiral Taiho, you will continue first contact procedures. Determine the full extent of human capabilities before we decide our approach. The communication ended, leaving Taiho staring at the human ship once more. Reopen communication with the humans, he ordered. Commander Jiwoo's face appeared on screen, still calm and composed. Admiral, she greeted him. Have you decided your intentions? We wish to learn more about Earth, Taiho said carefully. Your level of technology is unexpected. Jiwoo smiled slightly. We prefer to keep some things to ourselves, Admiral, just as I'm sure your Empire does. Perhaps a delegation from your ship could visit mine, Taiho suggested, as a gesture of goodwill. Jiwoo's eyes narrowed slightly. I think not. Our sensors detect weapons powering up on 3 of your auxiliary vessels. That doesn't seem like goodwill to me. Taiho shot a furious glance at Minje, who quickly signaled to the fleet. The weapons powered down. A misunderstanding, Taiho said smoothly. Standard protocol. Of course, Jiwoo replied. Just as it's our standard protocol to target our defense systems on the power cores of all 20 of your ships. The bridge of the Imperial flagship fell silent. The human ship had shown no signs of offensive capability, yet Jiwoo spoke as if she could destroy them at any moment. Perhaps, Taiho said slowly, we should continue this conversation with more transparency. Jiwoo nodded. I agree. Humanity values honest communication, Admiral. We look forward to it. As the communication ended, Jiwoo exhaled slowly. The bluff was working so far. Now they just needed time. 50 years earlier, a small farm outside of Busan, South Korea, shook with the impact of something falling from the sky. Farmer Junho ran outside to see a deep furrow cut across his rice field, ending at a smoking metal object half buried in mud. Unlike stories in movies, no military arrived to cordon off the area. No government agents in black suits took control. The object had avoided all detection systems, its descent masked by a summer meteor shower. Junho approached carefully, holding his old flashlight. The object was smooth and silver, about the size of a small bus. As he got closer, a section of it slid open with a hiss of escaping air. Inside was a being unlike anything Junho had ever seen. Its skin was pale blue, with 4 arms and large, intelligent eyes that blinked slowly in the flashlight beam. Dark fluid leaked from a wound in its side. "Help," it said in perfect Korean, the sound coming not from its mouth, but seemingly from the air around it. "Please." Junho, a man who had survived war and poverty, didn't hesitate. He helped the alien to his home and treated its wounds as best he could with his wife Sunmi's help. Over the next 3 days, as the alien's strength faded, it shared its story. Its name was unpronounceable, but Junho called it Bin, meaning visitor. Bin was a scientist who had fled the Galactic Empire, a vast coalition of worlds ruled by force and fear. "They will come to Earth," Bin explained, using a small device to project images of massive warships and conquered worlds. "They observe developing planets until they reach a certain level of technology, then arrive offering protection that is really control." "Why tell us?" asked Sunmi. "What can we do against such power?" Bin's large eyes blinked slowly. "Because your world has something special. Your people think differently. You adapt. You innovate in ways the Empire cannot predict." On the 3rd night, knowing death was near, Bin gave Junho a small crystal. Technology, knowledge, hidden in patterns your scientists can decode. Not weapons, the Empire has more, but different ways of thinking about space, energy, light. "Why not give this to a government?" Junho asked. "Too visible. The Empire watches governments," Bin replied. "Start small, hidden. Let it grow naturally from Earth thinking, not as alien technology. That is your advantage, they won't see it coming." The next morning, Bin was dead. Junho and Sunmi buried the body deep in their field and contacted their nephew, Professor Jinwoo at Seoul National University. Professor Jinwoo studied the crystal in secret, sharing its information with only his most trusted colleagues around the world. What began as a small network of scientists studying theoretical physics became an underground movement spanning continents. 20 years later, the first working prototype of a gravity manipulation device was successfully tested in an abandoned mine in Australia. 5 years after that, a new energy source based on principles from the crystal powered a secret facility beneath the Gobi Desert. The world's governments eventually learned of the technology, but instead of fighting over it, they were united by the knowledge of the coming threat. The Planetary Defense Council was formed, operating in absolute secrecy. On the surface, space programs progressed at their expected pace. The International Space Station was expanded. Humans returned to the Moon. Mars missions were planned, all proceeding at a rate that would not alarm the watchers from the stars. Meanwhile, beneath the lunar surface, the first Earth Defense Force shipyard took shape. Asteroids were hollowed out to become hidden bases. The broken remains of Bin's ship, recovered from Junho's farm, provided additional insights when combined with the knowledge from the crystal. Admiral Kang, head of the first EDF fleet, established the core principle that would guide humanity's preparation. We don't match their path of development. We take our own path they won't expect. Instead of copying imperial technology, Earth scientists combined alien concepts with human innovation, creating hybrid systems the Empire had never considered. While imperial ships relied on brute force and size, Earth vessels emphasized stealth, speed, and unpredictability. The UES Deterrent, commanded by Jiwoo, was the culmination of 50 years of hidden work. The first and only vessel of its kind, it incorporated every breakthrough Earth had achieved. As Jiwoo faced down the Imperial fleet, old Junho watched from his retirement home in Busan, now 90 years old. On his wall hung a picture of himself and Sunmi with Bin, taken the day before the alien died. Below it sat a framed letter of thanks from the Planetary Defense Council. "They're here, Bin," Junho whispered to the photo, "just as you said. But we're not as helpless as they think." Admiral Taiho sat in his private chamber, aboard the Imperial flagship, surrounded by holographic displays showing the human vessel from every angle. The ship's sleek design revealed no obvious weaknesses. Its black surface absorbed scanning beams instead of reflecting them, making detailed analysis difficult. A soft chime announced the arrival of his senior officers. Officer Minjae entered first, followed by Science Director Yunha and Fleet Strategist Jihoon. They took their seats around the oval table, their expressions serious. "Tell me what we know," Taiho said. Yunha touched a control and new images appeared in the air above the table. The human ship uses technology that should be impossible for their development stage. Their power source produces energy readings, similar to our newest cruisers. Their communication systems broke through our encryption, as if it didn't exist. "Could they have stolen this technology?" Taiho asked. "Perhaps from the Erixians or the Vol Confederation?" Jihoon shook his head. "Neither empire would share technology with a primitive species, and the design doesn't match known patterns from any galactic power." Minjae leaned forward. "There's something else. We've been analyzing their transmissions. They're communicating with bases on their moon, and we believe in the asteroid belt. The communications are heavily encrypted, but the frequency and pattern suggest military coordination." Taiho's four eyes blinked slowly as he absorbed this information. "So they have more than one ship?" "That would be my assessment," Jihoon agreed, "though we can't determine how many." The chamber fell silent as they considered the implications. The Empire's strategy for planetary acquisition had worked flawlessly for 2,000 years. They would observe developing civilizations, allowing them to advance to early space travel but not further. Then the Imperial fleet would arrive, offering protection and guidance that quickly became control. No species had ever surprised them like this. "The Council is demanding answers," Taiho said finally. "They want to know if we should proceed with standard acquisition or withdraw to reassess." "Withdraw?" Minjae looked shocked. "The Empire has never retreated from a first contact." "These are unusual circumstances," Yunha pointed out. "If humans have been deliberately hiding their true technological level, who knows what other surprises they might have." Jihoon touched the display, zooming in on Earth itself. "Our long-range scans show normal development. Cities, pollution, primitive satellites. Nothing suggests advanced technology, yet that ship exists." "Two possibilities," Taiho said. "Either they received help from some unknown source, or they've been deliberately concealing their progress." A new alert sounded. The communications officer's voice came through the speaker. "Admiral, the Council is calling again. They're most insistent." Taiho sighed. "I'll take it here." He gestured for his officers to remain as the holographic displays changed to show the 5 members of the Imperial Council. The Central Councilor's ancient face filled the main display. "Admiral Taiho, what have you learned?" "The situation is complex, Honored Councilor," Taiho replied. "The humans have technology that defies explanation. We suspect they may have more ships hidden in their system." "Impossible," snapped a councilor, with metallic skin. "Our observation posts have monitored Earth for decades. They're barely past using chemical rockets." "Yet the evidence is before us," Taiho said, sending the scans of the human ship to the Council. "This vessel matches our newest destroyers in capability." The Council members fell silent as they reviewed the data. "Could this be a deception?" asked a councillor with flowing tendrils instead of hair. "Perhaps this is their only advancee." "Ed ship, meant to make us believe they are stronger than they are." Taiho had considered this. "Possible, but a dangerous gamble on their part if true." The Central Councilor's eyes narrowed. "Test them. Send a small force toward their planet. See how they respond." "And if they respond with force?" Taiho asked. "Then we will know their true strength," the Central Councilor said coldly. "The Empire cannot show weakness. If humans have somehow achieved this level of technology, they must be either controlled or eliminated before they become a greater threat." The communication ended. leaving Taiho and his officers staring at the empty space where the council had been. "Prepare a scout ship," Taiho ordered. "3 destroyers as escort, set course for Earth." As his officers left to carry out his orders, Taiho turned back to the view of the human ship. Commander Jiwoo's calm face appeared in his mind. She had shown no fear when facing his fleet. Either she was a fool or she knew something he didn't. He feared it was the latter. The scout ship Farsight detached from the Imperial flagship, its sleek form glinting in the sunlight. 3 destroyer-class vessels moved into escort formation around it, their weapon systems fully charged. Admiral Taiho watched from the bridge of his flagship as the small fleet began its approach toward Earth. "Commander Jiwoo will see this as a hostile move," said Officer Minjae, standing at Taiho's side. "That is the intention," Taiho replied. "If the humans have only one advanced vessel, they must now choose, protect their planet or maintain their position against our main fleet." The A scout group accelerated, pushing past the human ship UES deterrent. Commander Jiwoo's voice came immediately through the communication system. "Admiral Taiho, your vessels are entering restricted space. Return to your position, or we will consider this an aggressive action." Taiho smiled thinly. "We merely wish to get a closer look at your beautiful planet, Commander. Surely that isn't a problem for a species with your capabilities." On board the deterrent, Jiwoo gripped the arms of her command chair. The Imperial Scout Group was calling her bluff. If Earth truly had the technology and fleet that she had implied, stopping 4 ships would be simple. But the deterrent was alone, and Earth's other ships were not ready. "They're testing us," said Tactical Officer Hyunwoo. "If we do nothing, they'll know we were bluffing. If we engage, we reveal our true capabilities and risk starting a war we can't win." Jiwoo's mind raced. The deterrent carried an experimental system that had never been tested in real conditions. Using it might save Earth from immediate discovery, but the power requirements would drain their core, leaving them defenseless afterward. "Get me Director Sunwoo," she ordered. The main screen changed to show an older man in a plain office deep beneath the lunar surface. Director Sunwoo had overseen the Earth Defense Force since its creation. "I see our situation," he said without preamble. "The Imperial ships will reach Earth in 17 minutes. Our lunar defense grid isn't operational yet, and the Mars fleet can't arrive in time." "Sir, requesting permission to activate Project Eclipse," Jiwoo said. Sunwoo's eyes widened. "That system hasn't been fully tested. The power drain could leave you defenseless. If those ships scan Earth and see our true level of preparation, we'll be defenseless anyway," Jiwoo replied. "At least this buys us time." After a moment, Sunwoo nodded. "Permission granted. Good luck, Commander." Jiwoo turned to her chief engineer. "Donghun, prepare the Eclipse system." "Yes, Commander." Donghun's fingers flew across his console. "But I must warn you, once activated, we can't maintain it for more than 30 minutes. After that, our power will be critically low." "Understood. All crew to emergency stations. Prepare for potential power loss." As the Imperial Scout Group continued toward Earth, Jiwoo opened a channel to Admiral Taiho's flagship. "Admiral, this is your final warning. Return your vessels to the agreed position." On his bridge, Taiho smirked. "Or what, Commander? Will you destroy 4 ships and risk war?" "I think not." Jiwoo's face remained calm. "We didn't want to reveal this capability so soon, Admiral. Remember, you forced our hand." She cut the communication and nodded to Donghun. "Activate Eclipse." Deep within the deterrent, a system unlike anything humans had officially developed hummed to life. It had been reverse-engineered from Bin's crystal, combined with Earth's quantum physics breakthroughs. The ship's lights dimmed as power was diverted to the new system. On the Imperial ship's alarms suddenly blared. "Admiral," the sensor officer shouted, "something's happening." Taiho rushed to the view screen. The deterrent was surrounded by a strange, shimmering field that grew rapidly outward. As it expanded, something impossible happened. The Earth and its moon began to fade from view. "What trickery is this?" Taiho demanded. "It's some kind of massive cloaking field," the science officer replied, her voice shaking. "It's bending light and other radiation around the entire planet and its satellite. Within moments, where Earth and its moon had been, there was nothing but empty space. Even the human ship had vanished. The scout group stopped, its commanders requesting urgent instructions. "Scan the area," Taiho ordered. They can't hide an entire planet, but the scans showed nothing. To all Imperial instruments, Earth and its moon had simply disappeared. The scout ships moved cautiously forward, reaching the orbit where Earth should have been, finding only empty space. "Impossible," whispered Minji. "No species has ever developed planetary cloaking technology. The power requirements would be beyond anything we can imagine," Taiho finished. He stared at the empty space, feeling a chill run down his spine. If humans could make a planet disappear, what else might they be capable of? On the deterrent, now invisible within the eclipse field, Jiwoo watched the confused Imperial ships. With grim satisfaction. "How long can we maintain this?" she asked. Donghun checked his readings. 28 minutes, Commander. After that, we're running on emergency power only." Jiwoo nodded. "Send emergency signal Alpha to all Earth defense bases. We need reinforcements here in 25 minutes. The race against time had begun. Inside the Lunar Command Center, Director Sunwoo stared at the massive display showing Earth, the Moon, and the Imperial fleet. Thanks to special sensors placed throughout the solar system, Earth Defense Force could still see through the eclipse field that hid Earth from Imperial eyes. 23 minutes until the field collapses," announced a technician. Deterrence. Power levels dropping faster than predicted. Sunwoo turned to the gathered team of Earth's brightest minds. Scientists and military leaders from a dozen nations huddled around workstations, desperately seeking solutions. "We need options," Sunwoo said simply. Professor Yuna, head of the Advanced Energy Division, stepped forward. "The eclipse field was never meant to hide an entire planet. It's draining the deterrence core too quickly. Can we send additional power?" asked General Jae-wan of the Asian Defense Coalition. "Not through the field," Yuna replied. "Any energy transmission would be visible to Imperial sensors and reveal our position." In the corner, a young engineer named Kibum looked up from his tablet. He had been recruited just 6 months earlier after designing a revolutionary energy transfer system for commercial satellites. "What if we don't send power through the field?" he suggested. Everyone turned to look at him. "What if we send it around it?" Professor Yuna frowned. "Explain." Kibum walked to the main display and pointed to the dark side of the moon, facing away from the Imperial fleet. "The eclipse field bends light and energy around Earth, creating a bubble of invisibility. But it has to anchor somewhere." He traced a line from the lunar base to Earth. "If we find the anchor points of the field and send energy through normal space that intersects with those points, we could feed power into the field structure itself. Like finding the seam in a balloon," Sunwoo said slowly. "Exactly," Kibum nodded enthusiastically. "We can't power the deterrent directly, but we can reinforce the eclipse field itself." Professor Yuna was already running calculations. "It could work, but we'd need to reconfigure the lunar power array. That would take at least 15 minutes. "Do it," ordered Sunwoo. "What else?" On the other side of the room, Dr. Minji, who specialized in Imperial technology, raised her hand. "I've been analyzing the Imperial scanning patterns. They're systematic but predictable. They scan in standard frequencies used across the galaxy." "And?" prompted General Jae-wan. "And we don't have to use those frequencies," Minji explained. "Earth developed communication technologies differently than the Empire. We use wavelengths they consider noise." A slow smile spread across Sunwoo's face. "You're suggesting we can communicate through the eclipse field without the Empire detecting it?" "Yes," Minji nodded. "We can coordinate with our asteroid belt forces using these alternative frequencies. They won't expect it because no other species does it this way." This was the human advantage. While the Empire had standardized technology across thousands of worlds, Earth had developed in isolation, finding unique solutions to problems. The crystal from Bin had provided advanced concepts, but humans had implemented them in ways the alien never imagined. "What about our ships in the asteroid belt?" asked General Jae-wan. "They're still not combat ready," a military engineer named Wu Jin spoke up. "We don't need them to be perfect. We just need them to look threatening." He pulled up schematics on the main display. "We've been trying to match Imperial technology, but what if we don't need to?" He highlighted the power systems of the half-finished Earth vessels. "If we reroute all power to external emitters and shield generators, we can create energy signatures that mimic advanced warships. They'll look powerful on Imperial scanners, even if they can't actually fight. Another bluff. Sun Wu mused. A bigger one, Wu Jin agreed, but it might buy us more time. In the lunar hangar bay, engineers scrambled to modify 12 prototype vessels. They weren't the equal of the deterrent, but with Wu Jin's modifications, they would register on Imperial scanners as major threats. Meanwhile, on the deterrent, Commander Jiwoo received the new plan through the secure frequency Minji had identified. Clever, she said to her executive officer. Very clever. On her screen, she could see Imperial ships still scanning the empty space where Earth should be. Their confusion was evident in their erratic movements. Power at 40%, Commander, reported Donghun from engineering. Eclipse field stability dropping to 70%. Jiwoo checked the time. Hold on, Donghun, help is coming. From the dark side of the moon, invisible to Imperial sensors, a pulse of energy shot into space, found the seam in the eclipse field, and strengthened it. The power drain on the deterrent immediately slowed. What just happened? Donghun asked in surprise. Jiwoo smiled. Human ingenuity happened. Admiral Taeho paced the bridge of his flagship, his 4 eyes fixed on the empty space where Earth should be. 27 minutes had passed since the planet vanished, and his officers were growing increasingly nervous. Still no sign of the planet or the human ship, reported the sensor officer. It's as if they never existed. Impossible, Taeho muttered. No technology can hide an entire planet for this long. The power requirements would be... Admiral, interrupted Communications Officer Lena, we're detecting new energy signatures approaching from the direction of the asteroid belt. The main view screen changed to show 12 vessels emerging from behind Mars. Unlike the sleek black deterrent, these ships were angular and bristling with what appeared to be weapon ports. They moved in perfect formation, their engines leaving trails of blue energy. Scan them, Taeho ordered. The sensor officer worked quickly, then looked up with alarm. Sir, their power readings are enormous. Each vessel registers as a heavy battlecruiser class. Together they outgun our entire fleet. Murmurs spread across the bridge. The Empire had never encountered a species with this level of firepower hidden from their observations. At that moment, the space where Earth had been shimmered, and the planet reappeared, along with its moon and the UES deterrent. The eclipse. Field collapsed. Its purpose served now that reinforcements had arrived. Commander Jiwoo's face appeared on the communication screen. She looked tired but triumphant. Admiral Taeho, I believe you've now met a portion of Earth's defense fleet. As you can see, we prefer to be left alone. Are you ready to discuss proper diplomatic relations instead of conquest? Taeho was about to respond when Captain Minho, commander of the Imperial vessel Stormwing, stepped forward on his own bridge. Minho was younger than most Imperial captains, having risen through the ranks due to his tactical brilliance. Unlike many officers, he had studied the histories of conquered worlds and had grown increasingly troubled by the Empire's methods. This is our moment, he said quietly to his executive officer. The moment we've waited for. The executive officer nodded slightly. They had planned for this possibility for years, recruiting like-minded crew members across several ships. Without warning, the Stormwing broke formation, moving to position itself between the Imperial flagship and the Earth vessels. 2 other Imperial ships, the Vortex and the Daybreak, followed Minho's lead. Captain Minho, Taeho's voice thundered across the communication channel, return to formation immediately. Minho's face appeared on screens across both fleets. His expression was calm but resolute. Admiral Taeho, I must decline that order. For too long the Empire has ruled through fear and technological superiority. We've crushed independent development and forced homogeneity across the stars. He looked directly at the camera. Today we've encountered a species that chose a different path. I stand with Earth. Commander Jiwoo watched in amazement as 3 Imperial warships moved to her fleet side of the standoff. This was completely unexpected, a division within the Empire itself. Captain Minho, she said, opening a channel. This is an unexpected development. Minho bowed slightly. Commander Jiwoo, know that your resistance has sparked hope across more than just your world. Many within the Empire have awaited a moment like this. Aboard his flagship, Taeho was furious. This is treason. I order all loyal ships to target the Stormwing and its collaborators. But before any weapons could fire, Minho spoke again, his voice broadcasting to all ships. The rebellion isn't limited to these 3 ships, Admiral. For generations, species across the Empire have built underground resistance movements. Thousands of ships have loyal crew members waiting for this signal. He touched a control on his chair, sending a coded transmission that rippled across the Imperial fleet. On 5 more ships, officers and crew members suddenly drew weapons, quickly securing their bridges and engine rooms. 58 Imperial worlds stand ready to declare independence, Minho continued. Your sensors are now detecting similar uprisings throughout the fleet because humans showed us something vital, that the Empire can be surprised, that its power is not absolute. Taiho stared in disbelief as nearly half his fleet shifted position, weapons now trained on his loyal ships instead of Earth. The balance of power had shifted dramatically in minutes. On the deterrent, despite the ship's depleted power, the crew erupted in cheers. What had begun as a desperate bluff had triggered something much larger, the beginning of the Empire's fragmentation. "Commander," said Communications Officer Sungmin, "Captain Minho is requesting to come aboard to discuss alliance terms." Jiwoo nodded, a smile finally breaking through her professional demeanor. "Tell him we'd be honored to welcome our first Imperial ally." As Minho's shuttle departed for the deterrent, Earth's defensive ships formed up alongside their new allies. A new chapter in galactic history had begun. 3 days after the standoff, Commander Jiwoo stood in the grand conference room aboard the UES deterrent. The ship had been fully recharged, its systems restored after the eclipse field's power drain. Through the large viewports, Earth shone blue and beautiful, now surrounded by an unusual mix of vessels, human ships alongside former Imperial warships that had joined Captain Minho's rebellion. The doors slid open, and Admiral Taiho entered. Without his command staff or guards, he seemed smaller somehow, though his 4 eyes still held fierce intelligence. He had requested this private meeting before the formal negotiations began. "Commander Jiwoo," he said with a slight bow, "thank you for agreeing to speak with me alone." Jiwoo nodded. "Please sit." She gestured to the table where 2 chairs waited. A simple peace offering. The chairs were designed to accommodate Imperial physiology. Taiho noticed this detail and smiled slightly as he sat. "You've studied us well." "We've had 50 years to prepare," Jiwoo replied. They sat in silence for a moment, 2 military leaders who had nearly gone to war, now searching for something different. "The Council has recalled half the remaining loyal fleet," Taiho said finally. "They're reconsidering their approach to Earth." "And the other half?" Jiwoo asked. "Will remain here, under my command, to negotiate terms." Taiho's outer eyes blinked slowly, a sign of thoughtfulness in his species. "Not terms of surrender, terms of alliance." Jiwoo raised an eyebrow. "The Empire doesn't make alliances, it conquers." "Perhaps it's time for the Empire to change." Taiho placed a small device on the table. It projected a star map showing Imperial territory. 8 sectors were highlighted in red. Captain Minho's rebellion has spread. These sectors have already declared independence. So quickly? They were ready, waiting for a catalyst. Taiho looked directly at her. "You provided that catalyst, a species that defied Imperial expectations and succeeded." Jiwoo leaned forward. "What exactly are you proposing, Admiral?" "A new galactic structure. Not an empire of conquest, but a federation of equals with Earth as a founding member." Outside the viewport, a shuttle departed from one of Minho's ships, carrying representatives from a dozen formerly subjugated species, all heading to Earth for the upcoming negotiations. "Why this change of heart?" Jiwoo asked. "Is it just because you're losing control?" Taiho was quiet for a moment. "Do you know what truly frightened the Imperial Council about Earth? Not your technology, not even your hidden fleet." He gestured toward the planet. "It was your unpredictability. I don't understand. For 2,000 years, the Empire has conquered worlds by following a perfect pattern. We observe, we understand, we predict, we control." Taiho's voice carried a hint of admiration. "But humans, you developed differently. You saw the same problems every species faces but found unique solutions." He touched the device again, showing images of Earth's ships. Your vessels combine technologies no Imperial engineer would put together. You use frequencies we ignore. You think differently. And that frightens you? It should frighten anyone who relies on predictability for control. Taiho stood and walked to the viewport. But I've served the Empire for 90 years. I've seen it grow stagnant, resistant to new ideas. Perhaps what we need is exactly what we fear: unpredictability. Change. In the lunar base, Director Sunwoo and his team watched the conversation through a secure feed. The old director smiled as he heard Taiho's words. Bin was right, he murmured. Our different way of thinking is our strength. Back on the deterrent, Jiwoo joined Taiho at the viewport. If we agree to this federation, she said, Earth maintains its independence, its unique development path? That would be the point, Taiho replied. The Empire, or whatever we become, needs new perspectives. In return, you gain access to the galactic community, trade routes, and protection from threats even worse than us. There are worse things out there. Taiho's expression darkened. The galaxy is very old, Commander. The Empire arose partially as protection against things that lurk between the stars, things that make our conquest seem gentle by comparison. The door chimed, announcing the arrival of the negotiation parties. Their private conversation was ending. Jiwoo offered her hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, Taiho took it, his four-fingered hand wrapping carefully around hers. To unpredictability, she said. And to a new galactic order, he replied. As they turned to greet the arriving delegates, the first rays of Earth's sun broke over the horizon, illuminating both human and Imperial ships in the same golden light. Old Farmer Junho, watching from his home in Korea, smiled at the sight visible in the morning sky. Look at that, Bin, he whispered to the memory of his alien friend. We did it differently, just like you said we should.